Sometimes the forest keeps secrets. Sometimes it gives you back something you didn't know you were looking for. This is the story of an old man, a polar bear, and the quiet bond that grew between them, far away from noise, far away from people, deep inside the woods where time slows down. The sun hadn't fully risen yet. The air was cold, and everything looked soft, like the trees were still half asleep. An old man, with a wool hat pulled low and a scarf around his neck, stepped out of his wooden cabin. He didn't rush. He never rushed. His name was Thomas, though no one called him that anymore. Out here, there was no one left to call him anything. He lived alone, by choice. No phone, no roads nearby, just trees and quiet and time. That morning, like every morning, he made a cup of black tea, put on his heavy coat, and stepped out for his usual walk. But that morning, something felt off. The forest was silent, not unusual. There was something new. Tracks, big ones. At first, Thomas thought it might have been a bear, but the size was different. And the shape, they weren't brown bear tracks. They weren't shaped like any animal native to this area. He bent down, slowly. His knees cracked as he crouched. And when he touched the cold earth, the print was still fresh. He looked around. No sound, no wind, just the whisper of snowflakes starting to fall. His eyes narrowed. "This doesn't belong here," he mumbled. He followed the tracks deeper into the forest. Quieter now, his boots crunching lightly over the frost. And then, through the trees, he saw it. White, still, like a ghost, a polar bear, lying down, breathing, but slow. One paw looked injured. Thomas stopped. He didn't move, not out of fear, but out of awe. A polar bear? Here. It didn't make sense. This was forest land. Not the Arctic, not the tundra. Yet there it was. The bear lifted its head slightly, just enough to see him, but it didn't growl, it didn't stand, it just watched. Thomas stood still for a few minutes, maybe more. He didn't want to scare the animal, or himself. Eventually, he took off his glove and reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a small piece of dried fish he had kept from breakfast. He didn't throw it. He just placed it on the snow a few steps away and backed off. The bear didn't move at first, but its nose twitched. Slowly, it pulled itself forward and took the fish. That was the beginning. Over the next few days, Thomas came back, quietly, carefully. He brought food, sometimes fish, sometimes frozen berries. Each time, he sat on a nearby rock, a good distance away, and just watched. The bear never came too close, but it stopped flinching, stopped lowering its head. The paw still looked bad. Thomas wanted to help, but how do you help something so big, so wild, and yet so lost? He started bringing warm broth in a thermos. He poured it into a bowl he placed near the edge of the trees. Each time, the bear drank. One morning, the bear didn't move much. It was breathing heavier. The paw looked swollen. Thomas knew it couldn't go on like this. Infection, hunger, time was running out. He went back to his cabin. He had old supplies, bandages, antiseptic, even a few animal meds from years ago when he used to help forest rangers. He packed them in a bag, took a deep breath, and returned. That day, he spoke, not loud, just a whisper. "I'm not here to hurt you, big guy." The bear's ears flicked, but it didn't move. Thomas slowly stepped closer, inch by inch, talking the whole time. When he reached the paw, the bear growled softly, more like a warning. Thomas stopped, waited, let the moment pass. Then gently, he touched the paw. The bear didn't bite, didn't strike, and that's when Thomas knew. This creature wasn't just lost, it was trusting him. The next few days were slow. Every morning, Thomas brought warm soup, wrapped the paw, cleaned the wound. He never pushed too hard. He worked quietly, always talking, telling stories, telling the bear what day it was, describing the weather. "Snow's coming," he'd say, "but you'll be all right. I'll make sure." And the bear stayed. It ate, it drank, it healed, and slowly it stood. A week later, Thomas found something odd on a nearby tree, a tag with a number, frozen and half buried under bark. Then he remembered, months ago, he heard a radio broadcast before he shut the set off for good. Something about a wildlife transport crash. A polar bear was missing, vanished from a truck headed to a northern research center. No one found it, until now. Thomas stood at the edge of the forest. He had a satellite phone hidden in a box under the floorboards. Emergency use only. He looked back at the bear, now able to walk, limping but strong. He had a choice. Call the number, report the find, let them come, or let it stay. But he knew the forest wasn't home for a polar bear. No matter how peaceful it looked, it didn't belong here, and if winter melted, food would run out. The bear would suffer. So he made the call. Just one. No name, no questions. "Your bear's alive," he said. "Come quietly. No helicopters. Just a truck and calm hands." They came at dawn. 2 men, both gentle, both quiet. Thomas didn't speak much. He stood back as they sedated the bear lightly, loaded it onto the truck. Before they left, one of the men turned to Thomas. "You saved him." Thomas shook his head. "He saved me." The truck rolled off, tires crunching the ice, and then it was gone. And for the first time in weeks, the forest felt empty. Thomas went back to his cabin. He poured himself tea, sat by the window. The trees stood still, covered in frost. He missed the soft breathing, the heavy footsteps, the silent company. But something inside him had changed. The quiet was still there, but now it felt full. They say polar bears don't belong in forests. Maybe they're right, but for a short time, one did. And for an old man who had stopped waiting for anything, that one bear gave him something he didn't know he'd lost. A reason to care, a reason to wake up, a friend. Not every rescue looks dramatic. Sometimes it's just 2 souls finding each other in the middle of nowhere, and that is enough.